Hey guys, welcome back to the Speaker's Edge podcast, the podcast specifically designed to help you to learn from some of the world's very best speakers and communicators. And we have a great speaker, world-class speaker for you on today's episode, none other than Les Brown, talking about the secret of how you can prepare for any audience and many other great tips as well. Before we get to that though, don't forget to download the companion resources. Just go to maxwellleadership.com/the Speaker's Edge. And we would love it if you rate and review the show as well. Now, this particular clip was from a few years back at an international Maxwell conference in Orlando. I interviewed Les for about 75 minutes, and this is just a 15-minute segment that we've taken. And I asked him lots of questions. The four that we're really focusing in on this section: how do you prepare for a speech, Les? When you're giving a speech, how do you prepare for that? What did you do to cope with some of the things that went wrong on your journey? How did you start out? What's the secret to your success, and what do you recommend people do when they're starting out? So all of those great questions, loads of great wisdom in the answers that you're going to see. We'll go through it a little bit at the end. I'll pick out some of the key nuggets, but for now, take plenty of notes, and I'll see you after the interview. So I thought, Les, what we do first of all, just so that people can get to know you a little bit, I just ask you a few questions, and then we can see what you can do. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now you're a world-famous speaker all over the world, but you didn't start out like that, obviously. Well, right at the beginning, how did you decide to get into the speaking business? What attracted you to it?
I was in Columbus, Ohio. I had just gotten elected to my third term to the Ohio legislature. And I got a call from my sister, my oldest sister, and her voice was quivering. And she said, "Leslie, are you standing up?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "I need you to sit down. I need to tell you something." And I said, "What is it?" She said, "Mama has breast cancer, and she can't take care of herself, and we're going to put her in a nursing home." And I immediately said, "No." Now, I'm one of 7 children my mother adopted, and I was born in an abandoned building on a floor in a poor section of Miami, Florida, called Liberty City. And when we were 6 weeks of age, we were adopted by Mrs. Mamie Brown. I feel like Abraham Lincoln, who said, "All that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe to my mother." So she said, "Leonard, Angelo, get on the phone. We knew you would say that." I said, "Listen to me." I said, "No." And I immediately, because I just gotten reelected and was the chairman of the Human Resource Committee, and I was being groomed to run for the Senate and Congress and statewide office, I left my clothes and everything and returned to Liberty City. I remember ringing the doorbell, and a lady named Mrs. Mildred was at my mother's house, and she said, "Mamie, Leslie's here." I could hear my mother sing in the background. She said, "I knew he would come. I knew he would come." And so when I came, I said, "Unpack everything. I will take care of her." Oh. And so that was the beginning of me deciding, what am I going to do now? What do I do with my life? Because I had worked hard to get to that position. I have no college training. I never worked for a major corporation. When I was in 5th grade, I was labeled educable mentally retarded and put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade, and failed again when I was in the 8th grade at Booker T. Washington High School in Miami. And so I went for a walk one day and came back thinking, what can I do? Because most people don't know, 95% of people who filed bankruptcy last year did so because of medical expenses. So I knew a traditional job would not allow me to be available to take care of my mother, and it would not generate enough income for me to be able to provide all of the medical expenses that would need to be paid for. So I was thumbing through the Bible one day, and I remember God asking Moses, "What's in your hand?" And the story of my relationship with my mother. And so I decided to become involved in speaking. I had a friend who had been telling me for 14 years that I can do it. But I just couldn't see myself competing against people with PhDs and MBAs. I just couldn't see myself being compensated and having a level of credibility where people would pay me to come in and tell them and share with them how they can improve their leadership, improve their customer service, how they can motivate and bring the best out of themselves and their clients. Because I had to learn this new way of operating, this new way of earning money for myself and my family. And so a friend of mine, Mike Williams, who's been my mentor since then now, in fact, we were together last night, He convinced me that I can do it. And sometimes you have to believe in somebody's belief in you until your belief kicks in. Because I was arguing with him, and all of a sudden the phone went dead. And I called him back. I said, we lost the signal. He said, we did not. I said, what happened? He said, I hung up. I said, why would you do that? He said, you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. So I said, but Mike, how can I do this and compete with people who have far more resources and education than I have? He said, Les, all of us are born the same way, dubbed and speechless. You can learn. So that became the journey. And in fact, I remember leaving Miami, coming to Orlando, to the National Speakers Association. I received their highest award and inducted into their Hall of Fame. And going from there to Atlanta, from Atlanta to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, I was on a Greyhound bus pursuing this dream. And that was the beginning, and it has been an exciting journey. I just finished speaking in Macau, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, Johannesburg, South Africa, Australia, Poland. Yes, and so it's been quite an exciting journey.
So when you started out then on that journey, presumably you've had obstacles like, you know, everyone here starting out to overcome. I mean, you've had a high-profile divorce that people know about. You battled cancer a number of times.
I'm a 19-year cancer conqueror.
Wow.
Yes.
Isn't that great? So, you know, we all face different challenges. What do you do when, you know, big things like that come along and, you know, and hit you? How do you keep going?
You know, we give a message out of our mess. So, that's good. It's as if life is challenging you. Charles Udall said, in life, you will always be faced with a series of God-ordained opportunities brilliantly disguised as problems and challenges. And that's when we have to apply what we know, to train our minds to serve us, because your mind is major. Mental resiliency is major. I had to even pull out some of my motivational materials to start listening for myself. Having supportive relationships and talking to yourself when I go for walks during the day. I give thanks that I am healed. My body's immune system is producing powerful white blood cells that kill quickly and permanently every renegade cancer cell in my body. I give thanks that I am healed. So I have this ritual that I go through.
That's right. Good stuff. Okay.
Thank you.
Do you want to finish that thought? You have the ritual that you go through?
The rituals, it's a variety of things of talking to myself, reading positive material, listening to things on a regular basis. I am a vegetarian, and so, but also that's key is having positive relationships. Let us say together, OQP.
OQP.
Only quality people. Yeah, I was training some speakers last night, and one of the things I said to them, you have to look at your relationships and ask the question, what are these relationships doing to me? Am I growing? You know, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough out of Atlanta said, if you're the smartest one in your group, you need to get a new group. And so having positive, loving, supportive relationships is major. It has tremendous impact on your immune system. I study psychoneuroimmunology, how the mind impacts the body's nervous system and immune system. And these disciplines, the rituals that I engage in, has really attributed to my being here with meditation and prayer.
Great. Well, it's obviously working because you're doing a great job. So today, you know, you're, as I said, one of the world's best speakers. You've won some of the great awards. You've spoken in the biggest venues. You're paid huge sums of money for just minutes of your time. But presumably at the beginning, there wasn't a queue of people waiting to just, you know, write a check for you.
No, not at all.
You had to get good first of all before you did that.
You have to get good first. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. There are many speakers who have the talent, but they think because of the gift of gab, being able to talk is not enough. Right. You need to have coaching on how you can begin to maximize your skills and your talents in speaking and most of all, create an experience for the audience and create value for them so that when the audience leaves your presence, they leave feeling better about themselves, but talking about you because of the experience that you've created, and you've given them a vision of themselves beyond their circumstances and mental conditioning.
Right, okay. So many people here are starting out as speakers, and they're thinking about what they should invest their time and energies in.
Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations to you for the work that you're doing. Your voices are needed now more than ever before. I strongly believe that we live in the greatest country in the world, and there's something wrong when more people in the United States, the land of opportunity where people come trying to outrun jeeps barefooted or trying to outswim sharks. There's something wrong when more people, according to the CDC, committed suicide last year than traffic accidents. So you are voices of hope. When there's hope in the future, it gives you power in the present. You have what I believe a spiritual tribe. You have an energy signature. There's some people will hear me and they'll hear Roddy, and they will hear us in their ears. But there are some people, when you speak, they will hear you and listen to you in their heart. When you speak, as a result of your speaking, as a result of your life experiences, as a result of the coaching that you have received, how to become strategic and experiential in telling your story, when you speak, their lives will be transformed and they will never be the same again. That's the value of your being here, because you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. So give yourselves a round of applause for showing up for this kind of program. Come on, you can do better than that.
Okay, so everyone here has been working to varying degrees on their 5-minute story for the speaker training workshop. How do you go about preparing now? Do you still develop stories? How do you prepare for an event? Or
I see various stories, because not only do I've been speaking, I just celebrated my 70th birthday, February the 17th, and so
woo!
Thank you. And so just the excitement of working with you has been great, because you learn, you earn, and you pass it on. But when I train and work with speakers, and we are partners in this area, Gabriel, you know Gabriel, who was burnt. So when you coach someone, and I saw you doing it with people that were up here, the key to it is not just about your story, but how you can use your story strategically. Let us say together, distract, dispute, inspire. How people live their lives is a result of the story they believe about themselves. So when Roddy coaches you, what he does is show you how strategically to use your story to distract people from the story they currently believe that's not serving them. And through the delivery of your story, you dismantle their limited belief system and distract, dispute, inspire, and inspire them to become, as Mother Teresa would say, to become a pencil in the hand of God and start writing a new chapter with their lives. And so the coaching, what it does, it gives you the opportunity to collectively and individually impact people standing here with a microphone because of how you strategically use the story. See, many people, they fail because their information, they feel that they need to provide a lot of information in their presentations. Right. If information could change people, everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy. So the key is to create an experience. Oliver Wendell Holmes said that once a man or woman's mind has been expanded with an idea, concept, or experience, it could never be satisfied to going back to where it was. So what I brought into the speaking industry that was not here, when I was looking at how can I fit, every speaker here, they have a mandate, and they're going to be able to achieve that with you, and that is, how do I stand out? among the thousands of speakers that are out here, what is it that I must do that can draw attention to me, to my voice, to my story? So to me, and what I do and how I coach people is to, first of all, and this is to realize you have a competitive advantage. And what I mean by that, the speaking industry has been governed for the most part by a very good program, the Dale Carnegie course, which tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. And get good first. Our approach is, in all thy getting, get understanding. Find out who they are. And through finding out who they are, what's the approach, what's the strategy, what's the game plan that you would use to create a committed listening, so that when you speak that you're in an alignment with where they are, and that you can now give them something of substance that they can use, that when they leave your presence, they're feeling better about themselves and talking about you because you've given them some things that they can use that will allow them to move forward in their lives. And so the power, I believe that to me, what's most important is the work that you're doing. Having these voices here, voices outside of politics and religion, which I believe unwittingly divide and separate people. These voices that's calling for people to believe in themselves, giving them hope, because when there's hope in the future, that gives you power in the present. So once I get a request for a speaking engagement, I get over 3,000 requests a year.
Wow.
The first thing I do is to find out who they are, what is it that they want, what are the things they've done in the past, what are some of the challenges, what are some of the drawbacks, what are some of the things that have stressed them out. And so then I put the presentation together around what it is they need. The advantage of what you're doing is that you're teaching people how to think, how to be intuitive, how to think on their feet, and how to custom design a presentation for the audience that you're going to speak to, and that gives you a competitive advantage. So it's something that you're in the right place at the right time with an organization that in this time, the need for your voice, the need for your story is greater than it's ever been before.
See, he's so likable, isn't he? His laugh is infectious. Such a great speaker. So much great wisdom. Before we kind of dig into just a couple of the nuggets, that was from an International Maxwell Certification event. As a Maxwell Leadership Certified Team member, you get to come to an event. You could be at the next event if you decide that being a Maxwell Leadership Certified Team member is for you. If you're interested in developing your speaking, I always say it's a no-brainer, because there's no one better to model than John Maxwell. There's no better system than the Maxwell method of speaking, and there's nowhere better to learn that than as a Maxwell Leadership Certified Team member. So nearly 60,000 coaches around the world now in over 168 different countries. All you need to do is go to maxwellleadership.com/speak, jump on the call with the program advisor and find out a little bit about the program. They'll find out a little bit about you. It's no obligation, so it's definitely worth a few minutes of your time to find out about it and see if it's a fit for you. If it is a fit for you, then you're going to be very, very glad you made that call. All right, let's dig into some of the things then that Les said, just to highlight some of them. I'm sure you got plenty of notes. You took plenty of notes and you got all these things already, but just to highlight them. When I asked him about how he got started in the speaking business, isn't it interesting how he always answers with a story, and he immediately goes into telling us the story of how he got started. Very compelling story about his mum. But if you ask him about anything really, he answers, makes a point, he shares great information with us, but he uses a story. And later on in the interview, it wasn't in this segment, but he says, listen, I never make a point without telling a story. And I never tell a story without making a point. So he's always using stories to bring his teaching to life, which is a great principle and something that all professional speakers do very, very well. No one better, of course, than John Maxwell. But then when you're talking about developing as a speaker, developing a speaking business, many of you thinking about, oh, I want to be a professional speaker, you're just starting out, but do I have all of the credentials that I need? Do I have all of the experience that I need? He talks about speaking to his mentor at the time, and his mentor hangs up on him. And he says, what happened? Did we lose the connection? He said, no, I hung up on you. He said, why would you do that? And he said, because I don't want to listen to you arguing for your limitations. If you argue for your limitations, then you get to keep them. And then he said, but I don't have the experience. And he said, we're all born the same way. Anyone you see doing anything has learned the skills, gathered the knowledge and the experience they need to be able to do it, and so can you. And so that's how Les started out. So I thought that was very compelling to hear Les's account of that. Another more great wisdom poured out when I asked him about overcoming the challenges that he's faced on his journey. And he talks about other people, getting around other people, only quality people. Change the people that you're hanging around with, change your peer group, and it makes such a difference. So only quality people. I don't think we're meant to do life alone, are we? If we can get around the right people, people that inspire us, it makes an enormous difference. In fact, we need other people. We can't do it alone. We need other people, and other people need us. And I think that's the wonderful thing about life, really. We can always be looking up and asking for someone to help us, and we can always be looking back and offering help to the people behind us. We don't have to work it all out for ourselves. We don't have to have all the answers if we're prepared to ask for help, if we're prepared to learn from other people's experiences. That's the key, isn't it? You probably heard the quote, it's amazing what you can achieve if you don't care who gets the credit. If you don't have to work it all out for yourself, you can move forward so much faster, so much more effectively. Then I asked him about when he started out, was there a line of people queuing up to get him to come and speak? That's true for every speaker at the beginning. No one starts out with a ready-made tribe and an audience. All of those things are built. They start out with nothing. He says there was no one. Being a good speaker is not enough, even just getting good. Being confident is not enough. It's about learning how to add value to an audience and then showing people that you can do that. And in order to do that, he says, you need to find out about them. And so he spent a lot of time talking about finding out who's in the audience and then working out how you're going to help them. And he says the big difference maker, and he talked about Dale Carnegie, tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them, and then tell them what you told them, which is repetition, and can work for training, but also, it can be a little dull if we know what's coming. There's no surprise. There's no need to know what happens next. He said it's about creating an experience for the audience. He called it a committed listening. Did you catch that? A committed listening. You create an experience so you've got their attention. They're committed to listening to what you're going to say. So it's not just about the information, it's about creating an audience experience that they'll never forget. So that's it for this week. Great interview with Les Brown. Next week's expert is none other than Nick Vujicic, talking about how he got started in the speaking business. And that, if you've never seen Nick speak, then you're in for a real treat. Another wonderful, wonderful person to learn from. Don't forget to download the companion resources. As I said at the beginning, go to maxwellleadership.com/The Speaker's Edge. Remember, communication is the most important skill you can develop, and it is a learnable skill. And if you learn to master your message, learn to inspire your audience, it's going to make an enormous difference, not just to your communication, not just to your business and your speaking, but to your whole life, because so much of what we do is interacting with other people. That's it for this week. I'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Thanks for listening. Lots of love. Bye-bye. God bless.